These cloud-like raspberry cream gels are infused with fresh raspberries and a touch of cream from just a dollop of dairy-free yogurt. Made with unflavored gelatin, these healthy treats melt in your mouth and supply a dose of skin, hair, nail, and gut-nourishing collagen. But it's the fresh raspberries that really steal the show. In today's episode of Thyroid-Healthy Bites, we're heading to the kitchen for a special Valentine's worthy treat that happens to be gluten-free, dairy-free, paleo, and 100% thyroid healthy. Hello, thyroid drivers. Welcome back to another episode of Thyroid-Healthy Bites, a weekly podcast dedicated to helping you live well and eat well so you can feel well. I'm Ginny Mahar, your host and the face behind the apron at hypothyroidchef.com. All right, get ready for something beautiful, delicious, and easy to make. Gels are one of my favorite thyroid healthy treats, and there's so many ways that you can make them. You may have seen or tried my similar recipe for anti-inflammatory tart cherry gels. Those take a more quick and casual approach. They use just fruit juice, gelatin, and a touch of honey. They're really yummy, they're easy, and they can be turned into so many variations. But these are something a little bit more special. They take just a wee bit more effort cooking down fresh raspberries into a concentrated puree, and then pumping up the flavor with vanilla, lemon, and finally stirring in a swirl of tartly flavored cream in the form of plain dairy-free yogurt. You could make these any time of year, but really I created these with Valentine's Day in mind. Think of them as my Valentine to you. And speaking of gifts for you, if you're ready to learn more about thyroid healthy eating or to get started on the path to feeling better and reducing symptoms, I've got a free download for you. It's my Thyroid Healthy Grocery Guide, and I've packed over 130 delicious, colorful thyroid healthy foods onto this one-page printable that you can use to help you get over that hump. Do you know the hump that I'm talking about? It's the one where you want to eat healthy and feel better, but you start learning about all these foods we're supposed to avoid as thyroid patients. And it just gets overwhelming before we've even begun. I get it. I've been there. And trust me that while changing the way I eat didn't happen overnight, it did happen over time. And it gave me my life and my health back. That's why I do what I do. It's what fuels my fire. And that's why I want to help you get your life back too. So the Thyroid Healthy Grocery Guide is an awesome place to start. Or if you're already on the path to get your wheels turning about maybe adding more diversity to your diet or just coming up with ideas about what to make for dinner tonight, you can grab that at hypothyroidchef.com/grocery. I'll also put the link for that in the show notes. All right, who's ready to get cooking? Let's make these raspberry cream gels. And along the way, I'm going to be sharing some of my best tips for you about cooking with gelatin. There's so many possibilities with gelatin, and it's absolutely a thyroid healthy food. So while we're cooking, we're also going to be learning a little bit more about that. This recipe is all about the raspberries. In a small saucepan, we're going to combine 6 ounces of fresh raspberries, a 1/4 cup of water, 2 tablespoons plus 1 teaspoon of maple syrup, a pinch of sea salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Use a potato masher to mash the berries and then bring those to a boil over medium-high heat. We'll let that bubble for about 5 minutes. Meanwhile, place the remaining 1/4 cup of water, it needs to be cool or cold, in a bowl. This isn't much water, and it's a pretty good amount of gelatin powder, so be sure to use a bowl that will give you enough surface area. Sprinkle the gelatin powder evenly across the top of the water and let that sit for about 5 minutes. This is called blooming the gelatin, and it will help prevent lumps. While that's blooming, let's talk a little bit about gelatin. The health benefits of gelatin are huge. It's derived from the cartilage, bones, and connective tissue of usually cows or pigs. Now, that might sound scary or gross or super processed, but this is actually one of the oldest and most nourishing recipes there is. I personally feel it's also a great way to honor the animal by using as much of it as possible, including those tough, chewy bits that aren't the most palatable, but they have so much nourishment in the form of gelatin. In fact, if you've ever made bone broth, you've rendered your own gelatin. So when stock is rich and concentrated from being made with lots of bones and cartilage and connective tissue, it will gel upon cooling because of the gelatin content. And I know that can skeeve people out a little bit when they don't understand why. But when that happens, that's actually a sign of a very good and good for you bone broth. Gelatin is primarily composed of amino acids and proteins that are beneficial to skin, teeth, nails, hair, joints, bones, muscles, the liver, the adrenals, and in particular, the intestinal walls. Glycine is the main amino acid in bone broth or gelatin, and that's been shown to be really beneficial to our health, including mental health and brain function. Glutamine is another amino acid found in gelatin that's been shown to help repair fissures in the intestinal wall. That's another way of saying leaky gut. Okay, so it lubricates our joints, it keeps our hair and nails healthy and strong, it heals our guts, it beautifies our skin. Some studies have shown it can even support memory and weight loss. And especially as we age, gelatin is something that we really stand to reap several benefits from. And as far as side effects, there's like none except for those of us with a histamine intolerance. So it's no wonder they serve so much Jell-O in hospitals or places like nursing homes. Well, gelatin does supply health supporting proteins like collagen and glycine, like we talked about. Just keep in mind that it is actually not a complete protein because it lacks some of the essential amino acids. So if you would like to ensure that you're getting a complete protein, just be sure and accompany this snack with a whole source of animal protein, like any kind of meat, poultry, seafood, or eggs. Gelatin is a really wonderful way to create delicious desserts or ready-to-eat snacks for those of us who are gluten-free, dairy-free, grain-free, paleo, or maybe even AIP. Now, these are really common diets for thyroid and autoimmune thrivers who are looking to combat inflammation, support gut health, etc. But they can also make holidays like Valentine's Day a little tricky to navigate. So this recipe is a great option because not having Valentine's Day treats is just a bummer. We don't want that. We want to find ways to celebrate and live our lives without getting derailed from our health goals. Gelatin typically comes in powder or sheets, which can then be dissolved, and then that mixture is used to create a liquid mixture that gels when chilled. So you can purchase beef or pork gelatin. For this recipe, I'm using Great Lakes unflavored beef gelatin, which comes in this convenient canister for easy to measure powder. Okay, so when your raspberry mixture is done cooking, strain it into a medium mixing bowl through a fine mesh sieve. We're going to use a rubber spatula to press out the juice while straining out the seeds. Just keep working it through the sieve and be sure to scrape the bottom side when you're done to get all that yummy raspberry puree into your bowl. Now we're going to return that strained raspberry mixture to the saucepan and stir in the bloom gelatin. It'll look wrinkly and weird. That's normal. Mine even congealed into a disc, which looks really strange, but it's fine. Just add it to the pan and stir it or whisk it until that gelatin has melted and you can't see any lumps or granules. The mixture needs to be warm for this to happen. So if it has cooled off, you might need to reheat the mixture over low heat. Now, this brings me to another tip about cooking with gelatin. You want to avoid boiling gelatin or getting it hotter than about 140 degrees Fahrenheit. What can happen is it may lose its gelling power. It's okay if you need to use some heat, just don't get it too hot, like hotter than, say, coffee temperature. But really, you won't need to get it very hot to melt the gelatin. So once that's dissolved, add a teaspoon of fresh squeezed lemon juice and a quarter cup of plain dairy-free yogurt and whisk to combine until no lumps remain. I used Harmless Harvest plain coconut yogurt for these raspberry cream gels because It has a really nice silky texture and a light taste that's very much like sour cream. There's really too many good dairy-free yogurt alternatives out there to list, and there's a few not so good ones. Just make sure that whatever you use, it's smooth, not grainy, tastes really good, and is free of any ingredients you may be currently avoiding, like thickeners or sugar or soy. Okay, once your mixture is nice and smooth and just this lovely, pretty pink, you can pour that into a 2-cup liquid measuring cup, which will make it easier to pour. And then pour that mixture into a heart-shaped silicone mold. I love this one from Wilton, and I'll put a link to it in the full blog post that I always link to in the show notes in case you're interested. But if not, no worries. You can also just pour the mixture into a small Pyrex dish like one of these. It's only about 1 1/4 cups of liquid, so you don't want to go too big. If you have a heart-shaped cookie cutter, you could also use that once they're set. We're going to put this in the fridge and let it chill for at least 4 hours or until it's completely set up. That's my last tip about cooking with gelatin. Obviously, it has to be completely chilled to gel. If you jump the gun, you could end up with runny raspberry gel. So be sure to give it time to chill completely and you'll be good to go, at least 4 hours or even overnight. Once that's done, just pop them out of your mold or cut them into bite-sized pieces and enjoy. To make these easier to unmold, one trick you can use is to dip your mold in hot water for just a hot second, and they should pop right out. These keep in the refrigerator for 5 to 7 days in my experience, and they're great to have in the fridge, and they never go to waste. They have such a wonderful flavor from those fresh raspberries, and that little bit of lemon juice, vanilla, and tangy yogurt just puts them over the top. I hope you get some time to make these for yourself, maybe for your loved ones, or for the thyroid thriver in your life soon. They truly are made with love. Thanks so much for joining me in my kitchen today and for tuning in to another episode of Thyroid-Healthy Bites. If you've enjoyed the show, please don't forget to like, subscribe, or leave a review. You taking that extra second to support my work helps so much and is so appreciated. So I thank you in advance. Once again, that link to my free Thyroid Healthy Grocery Guide is available for you in the show notes, along with the link to the full post for this episode with the printable recipe. I'm Jenny Mahar, wishing you the best of health. See you next time.